Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm George. This is Malaka Motorsports. We're going to be talking about the Rs3 today. More progress as the intercooler arrived that we're going to be using. Parts arrived, pistons, rods, head studs we're going to be talking about later in this episode. But primarily we're going to be fabricating and making and mounting this intercooler to the car. Then understanding what we had to cut as we already started to trim and try to figure this out already. And we'll showcase what we cut to try to make this work in the Rs3 here to get this VR6 up and going. But we're going to be fabricating and mounting our intercooler. We also picked up a couple of these universal sets of intercooler piping. We're going to be cutting and making our own intercooler piping system for the Rs3, utilizing also the vibrant clamps, the HD clamps. So eliminating silicone couplers from this build. It's always been a hassle, especially on the B5, on Stav's car as well, popping off, bursting open. It doesn't seem to be a silicone coupler that can pretty much, take the abuse in terms of building a lot of this boost, especially with the engine movement. So we've opted to go with Vibrant as we did on the B5. The B5 was completely V-banded aside from the turbo outlet and the throttle body. I think I'm going to go all HD clamps. I ended up ordering a few of them, so an entire kit. So we're going to start off with welding them to the end caps there. So this way, those could be quick, pretty much quick release and quick adjustable there, quick install, quick removal. And then we're going to start off with making our piping. And then we're going to talk about some really nice parts that arrived from Greece, and what arrived, why did I get these, why did I end up going with a different company for internals on the R30 build for the Rs3. We'll talk more about that as the episodes progress. So let's kick off with mounting this intercooler. Maybe we could start off by welding, maybe showcase. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys as I've been getting better with this aluminum welding and stainless too. So this is aluminum. So I've never welded an aluminum assembly, but I've been practicing with like spare tubing here that we've had. And I've been welding all this stuff, as you guys see all the pictures that we've been posting and all this other stuff. So I've been trying to get there, trying to work on my technique, working on different settings and whatnot, and messing up here and there. As you guys follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I post all my failures and successes pretty much there. But I think I'm confident enough to weld these ferrule clamps, couplers, fittings more or less on the opposite side of the intercooler. So let's kick that off. We'll do some time-lapse footage. You guys can see me clean, prep, and get this thing ready and actually weld it. And then we'll look at what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like afterwards.
So I'm just going to wire brush these real quick and wipe them down with acetone. They actually came pretty clean from treadstone, but a good amount of dirt came off of it. I'm going to swap out the tungsten and also the cup. I went to a smaller ceramic cup just to not waste enough, not too much gas. Stainless, I really need a lot more coverage. On the aluminum, I found I don't really need too much. The tacks actually went pretty well. I used little stands there that kind of stick to my table just to kind of hold it up. And it went pretty well. I didn't blow anything through, so luckily everything's going good so far. Flipping it over, doing pretty much 4 tacks just to make sure it doesn't warp or pull away from each other. And now I'm just starting to do the beads. So I do about 2-inch increments and flipping it around, and then I got a little fan on the side, a little blower, to kind of keep it cool in between. So I just kind of hang out, play on my phone. But this is me learning how to weld. I picked up a Vulcan ProTig 205 from Harbor Freight and just kind of YouTube videoing it, listening to advice, trying different stuff, experimenting, and this is us fabricating here at the house. So it's kind of cool that we get to make this kind of stuff now.
It's actually not too shabby. It looks really, really good, especially for my skill level. So I ended up taking these ferrules, capping it onto the intercooler, wire brushing, cleaning, and prepping, and then laid a couple beads on each side and got it completely round. So now these will accept these HD clamp adjustable. So there'll be quick release. Basically an O-ring will go on there. This will fit over it. And then this will clamp over it with another ferrule on the tubing. What I just found out actually though is there's an alignment tool that Vibrant just released, which I had no idea about. I posted on our Audi Performance group on Facebook, and a couple people had recommended this alignment tool, which I'll screenshot it right now. It's Saturday. I'm gonna just order it and hopefully it comes in the middle of the week. But I'm gonna do and go as far as I can today, which is pretty much just welding the intercooler and then making the mounts for the intercooler on the car. I won't be able to run any piping as the alignment tool is key. And I had no idea about this, guys. Check this out. So I didn't know between these two ferrules, there's supposed to be a gap. It's not supposed to be flush and then you kind of tighten that. There's a gap there, and that ferrule piece and the center band goes in there and allows for radial movement up to 12 degrees. And if you don't have that, if you butt it up and that's your fitment, and you tighten it and you put this clamp on top, this thing ain't gonna move, and it's gonna really wear on these joints and potentially fail depending on how much the engine moves, you know? Which we have, you know, 034 pretty much locking down the engine as we did on the 5-cylinder, but, you know, I'm just wondering now, you know, number one, I would have just been fitting this up flush. I had no idea that it had to be a pre-gap. So I bought this fitment adapter, which pretty much they sell. I ended up, you know, snagging, and it should be here next week, and it automatically gaps it so you can route your tubing. I ended up picking up 2 so I could do 1 tube at a time. So I'm just able to successfully weld everything onto the intercooler now. I ended up cutting the turbine housing too with my little DeWalt cutter I ended up picking from Home Depot. This was like 150 bucks. This thing wasn't bad, and it's pretty badass. It can cut stainless. I've done aluminum with it. Ended up cutting it, deburring it. Mainly today, we're gonna be mounting, fabricating and mounting the intercooler here. We're gonna get everything pretty much set up, and then we're gonna talk about these beautiful, beautiful Beskar parts. Now look at that silver logo too on the DP, which is pretty cool. We're gonna be talking about the internals we opted to go with the R30, which just arrived about a week ago. So now we can start getting ready the engine, the spare engine anyway, not this one, the one that's on the side just hanging out on that stand, put it on a crate, get it out, and send it out for machining. So a lot to talk and a lot to discuss on that, as we'll get into a little bit more detail, but let's get to mounting this intercooler and let's see what kind of room we have to play with.
So, you know, putting this all together and trying to fabricate, I've never done this before in terms of like intercooler fab or mounting. I was kind of figuring out as I went. I had spare scrap material. I was drilling holes, cutting different materials, trying to figure out what the hell I was going to make, but I ended up figuring like a small little design, something that had a small silhouette, something that wouldn't interfere with the bumper, and it would kind of be really nice and sleek. At least I think so. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But I ended up putting this together. It's cold rolled steel, so it's not the stainless that I've been practicing with. So it was reacting a little different, but I was adjusting on the fly and adding enough material. I changed up the rod to just a stain, you know, just a regular steel rod, but grinded down the edges, smoothed everything down to the best of my ability. And then I'm going to coat it with a self-etching primer to kind of clean things up before mounting it on the car.
So we're waiting now for these to kind of cure up. I just coated them with that etching primer. Might have put a little too much on them, but I wanted a good etching primer on them to kind of, you know, dig into that metal. And I don't know if I'm going to do them some engine enamel black or silver. I'm not sure. Probably just doing them black so they kind of match with the front a little bit. And the only thing silver is going to be the intercooler. But we won't have to use the wood anymore. That's pretty much over with, and now should be able to mount right up to the chassis, and then as soon as that alignment tool comes in, we can start doing the install. In just a second, me and Stav are going to go over some of the engine internals that came in for the R30. He also ended up picking himself up a set of the tool steel, not tooled, tool steel head studs, and we're going to go over which company we ordered them from and why, the specs. We'll show you the, you know, pretty much the layout, the little print that they gave us with each component. So if you guys wanted to order them, you're more than welcome to reach out to them. But for the R30, they're pretty much the only company that makes them right off the bat. There's a lot of big companies in Greece, overseas, especially in Europe, going really fast with these cars and their VR6s. As you guys know, there's a 7-second S3 that's out there, a low 7-second that's just ripping it up. So we opted to go obviously with the same materials as them, and plus it's kind of cool. We ended up, you know, working with a Greek company, which we are Greek Americans, so kind of getting a little support out there for, you know, a shop out there in our motherland, so to speak, or aka fatherland. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to collaborate with another Greek company and go fast and kind of follow the footsteps of everyone else that's been kind of building these R30s now for the last decade or so. So anyway, let's go over to the table and let's go over pretty much the rods, the pistons, the head studs, and some other little things that came with it, and the specs. Let's stop here while waiting for the intercooler mounts that we made to kind of cure before we install the intercooler.
Correct.
We're going to go over some boxes that came in from Dynotech Performance over in Greece.
You know, we worked with so many companies. We've always requested pictures, promotional, you know, stuff that we could use to kind of showcase the parts that we use, because we love sharing this stuff with you guys. And you guys always ask, what's this, what's that, what's the specs? And Panos and George over there at Dynotech was so cool. You know, they put together this video. It had some kind of weird music on it. I didn't know if it was safe to use. I didn't want to get, you know, copyright struck on the channel. So I'm talking over it to showcase, hey, listen, I'm just beyond impressed, you know, A, with the quality of the product, the boxing, them being able to showcase what they do, and they sent it over in such a fast amount of time. I mean, so I was like, yeah, you need a video? 24 hours later, you know, boom, here's a video, here's what we do, here's some of your parts. here's some of our clients' parts being made. So, knowing that these parts are also in other 7-second, 8-second VRTs out there, so we know we're getting the right stuff, and the communication and the customer service with DP has been absolutely astounding. Working with these guys, telling them our plans and what our goals are with this engine, and what we should do and what parts we should buy. So really cool. The packaging, the quality has been so awesome. And again, I wanted to showcase this video as they were kind enough to send us over. So hopefully you guys get a glimpse on what they do, and we'll showcase the parts here just as we're opening up here in just the next second. So stay tuned.
We've been waiting on these for a little bit. They're all custom order, so everything was specially made with some fresh silver Beskar / tool steel.
Not happy about that, but yes.
AKA tooled steel.
Tooled steel, correct.
So Stav ended up ordering some goodies too. So let's go over the biggest box first. Right here. Let's open this bad boy. Oh, look at that. So all the rings. And a little sticker. Look at that. DP, Pistons and Rods. And let's go over the spec real quick for the pistons. So I went with 84.5, pin length 53, and they're going to be the tooled steel or tool steel. Either way. So these are the race application for the R30. Again, for those of you guys that want to order from them, we're following the footsteps of some of the fastest R30s out there. So we ended up ordering the same spec. So take a look at that, and let's actually take a look at the piston. Go ahead, stop pulling out.
Also tell them what compression ratio you went with.
I went with 8.5 to 1, the same compression ratio that's in my B5, same compression ratio. Ooh, I caught that. That bounced. You didn't hear nothing. I caught that.
Only you, my man.
But look at that shiny Beskar. Look at all that silver stuff. So inside Stav's
this
engine
is you.
is silver.
This is you. We ordered these custom pistons. I hope I don't go. Oh my God.
These look beautiful. Look double dished. That's beautiful too. And he says it's within 0.5 gram. Pano said it's within 0.5 gram
Correct.
of each other in terms of balancing, so the machine shop won't have too much work when they're balancing the rotating assembly once we get everything in. So let's go over again real quick.
And tell them why they do that.
Why don't you tell them why?
Okay, so the reason they do that with the 24 valve stuff is that so there's absolutely no excuse for why the car makes no power.
Oh, get out of here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no power. Speaking of which, what'd you make on the dyno?
600 on 3 cylinders.
So here's the spec for the pistons again, guys. R30 from Dynotech DP. Let's close this up and let's take a look at the rod box. I love stuff too. Look at the logo, silver lettering too. Can we come? This is like a match made in heaven. Look at it, silver. Beskar. That's right there.
That's actually a nice box.
It is a nice box.
It is a nice box.
So let's take a look at the rods real quick from Dynotech. So it's going to be 3/8. Oh, hold on. Bolt size are 3/8.
Correct.
I forgot this one with the spec. Small end thickness 19.9. Engine type R30. And it gives you the bolt torque too, 55 foot-pounds. Oh, that's cool. Yes. Big bore end 56.8. What do you got there? What?
And not only that, they're custom-made tool-steeled bolts.
Let me see. Oh, look at that. It has their logo too, DP.
Which is stronger than a 625 bolt.
That's pretty badass. Look how beefy those things are. And I won't lie to you, this thing's pretty light too. Does it say the weight on this thing? Does it? I don't know if it does off the top of my head. But these feel pretty light. Well made too. And these are X-Beam, right, Stav?
Correct, X-Beam.
X-Beam rods from Dynotech. And these, again, these are the custom length
for the R30
for
setup.
the R30. Interesting.
Correct. Interesting. All custom, made to order. Looks beautiful. Can't wait to test them out.
And let's put this away now. I'm going to go over the spec one more time as you're putting that in the box for those interested, so people can screenshot it and check it out. And then what else did we get? We ended up getting some head studs too, which you ordered some too.
Correct. Let's show them yours, and we'll save the best for last.
He's such a scumbag. All right, so let's open this up too. Oh, they hooked us up with some stickers. What? Silver stickers. Look at that. Oh, I'm going to tag everything up. Look at that. Pistons and Rods. I think these are all mine, right?
Correct.
Oh, look at these. What? No, these are yours. Is yours or mine?
I'm not sure.
What mil did you order?
I ordered 12 mil.
12 mil, and I think I ordered the 11.
Yeah, these little skinny ones are yours. You got them.
So this is yours right here.
Correct.
So these are Stav's. He ended up going with tool steel.
Correct.
So why don't you talk about them a little bit and why you ended up going with tool steel head studs?
Well, I'm running tool steel head studs now, but what we're going to do is this is a 12 millimeter stud. The factory 12 valve works with a 11 millimeter stud, but we're going to have a machine shop drill them out and what do you
Massive.
call and along with the O-ring that we're going to do on the block, I believe it'll keep my head from lifting.
Okay, cool. I ended up going with the same, but I ended up going with the 11 mil, and it's pretty much the R30, where the R32 comes with a 10 mil. I ended up just going one over so they can kind of machine it out. And with the O-ring, I don't think I'm going to have any head lifting issues. But worst case scenario, if we end up seeing anything crazy in the highest boost applications, we know the Rs3 is going to do plenty of drag racing when she's ready.
Correct.
We'll figure it out. We'll drill it out and go with like half-inch head studs.
These are rated stronger than a factory. This is 270,000 tensile strength versus the 200 that the regular ARP 2000 bolt is, plus bigger bolt.
No, that is true. That looks great.
Correct.
So then we're pretty much ready. So we're going to take all that and we're going to come over here. And I got everything pretty much on a pallet. I have to kind of box everything up, get this on a pallet, as this is going to be shipped out so they can O-ring the block, machine it, do my head. We're going to do all Ferrera valve train, again, cat cams, but pretty much getting this ready. So now I believe we have all the internals necessary to get this block machined. But worst case scenario, we ship this out, it doesn't come back in time. I have the spare block in the Rs3 that's still good. That'll still run. So we could probably just pull it out and just prep it so this way it can fire up. But stuff, let's get that intercooler on so this way you can see. You weren't here while I was putting this thing together.
Correct. I'm glad I wasn't.
So help me. We're going to mount the mounting brackets on the intercooler right over there. We'll mount it on the table, and let's get it. Hold on. She already knows I'm looking at her. She's thick. Cleo. So we're going to get the intercooler on, and we're going to mount it on. So let's mount it on the intercooler and then bolt it onto the chassis.
All right, George. So it's all mounted, it looks like.
Yeah.
With some, I think you primed them. Look like they're like a drab green self-etching primer.
Yeah. I showed it on the video before. It's the same ones we used on all the subframe parts.
Oh, yeah.
It worked really well. I mean, obviously I haven't driven the car, but it's the heavy-duty etcher that etches.
It looks the same like the way you painted it that day. You know what I mean?
So we got the intercooler mounted. I may have to trim this radiator piece. We cut it a little bit, but I'll have to trim this a little bit more just so it fits the actual coupler. But I made these mounts, or these brackets, so to speak, so they don't go or interfere, especially on this side stuff. If you want to show, I made them so they don't interfere with the actual piping when it comes around. So it's like a close silhouette. And you know, I don't know what kind of forces or what kind of abuse a lot of these joints are going to take, but I also double welded on the inside of these joints too. Just kind of did a couple. I did like little quarter inch, like a little stop and goes all the way around.
Correct. So it's welded inside and out, so we shouldn't have any leaks.
No leaks, no issues. I haven't pressure tested it yet, but I seam welded pretty much everything, which we're going to double check. Obviously, we're going to pressure check the intercooler before we put it into use. But she's mounted stuff like we made this here. We made this here.
Whoa, I'm not taking any credit for this. You made this here, but honestly, it looks very good.
Thank you.
You did a great job, and it's actually very not in the way of anything. That's actually looks really nice. And this is a 1300 horsepower intercooler. That's what they rated for.
Correct.
Treadstone.
So this is a bar and plate design. It's an older style design intercooler, but it should be fine for what we do. So check this out, right? I'm not that confident right now in my welds. I'm just learning, especially aluminum. I'm just getting into it. I figured maybe in the next few months I get confident enough stuff, I'll maybe able to make my own intercooler. But right now, off the shelf, this is the highest horsepower one-sided intercooler that's not water to air, and I am not running water to air. So this car should be able to run in the street and in the track.
And first time Malaka Motorsports ever happening, and probably the last. I'm going to give you a compliment here. You are my best student. I mean,
yeah, your best student.
I have taught you in the last 5 weeks things that you thought you could never learn. Math, welding, and you did a great job.
Stav is he's a legend in his own mind, Stav.
I mean, listen, I was here welding, but I wasn't here. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this.
I was with you in spirit.
So we picked this up, and YouTube videos, listening to all the advice that people have been chiming in, both on the channel, both on the personal Facebook and Instagram pages that we have. I'll tag them here for me and Stav, and then also the Malaka Motorsports one. And just learning from the mistakes and making stuff. We even made a 5-inch inlet, which I didn't even seam weld all the way. We made it out of stainless. Even though we won't use it stainless, you don't want an intake out of stainless. I ordered it just so I can get the practice on it and blow through it and do whatever. But
now that you're getting aluminum down, we have the ability now to make parts in-house.
Correct. So I was going to do the intercooler piping in this video too, but the alignment tool, obviously, I didn't even know it. They just released it a couple days ago, so I don't want to make the piping till we get that clamp in to give us that pre-gap. So I talked about it earlier in the video stuff.
I'm excited for that because I didn't even know they made that. Actually.
No, and look, the way it looks, both routes are going to come down. So I don't know which one's going to go over. So one will come down, and then this one will come straight in, and it looks like one will go over, and it's going to be a 90 off that. And what's kind of cool.
Is that a KO4? What is this?
It's a 79 mil Garrett 1450 G42.
You don't got to flex on this.
So come here. I ended up cutting the turbo compressor cover. So I cut this, deburred it, cleaned it up, and what's kind of cool is if I wanted to even do it straight, it still goes down to a 3, and I can weld that on. Or for the intercooler stuff, you know, because I'm like practicing with pie cuts, I ended up ordering a bunch of these aluminum pie cuts. So this will fit too. And I figured if worst case, I can't find like a cast 90 that I could order off Amazon, I'll just make it out of pie cut 90, and then I'll do one of the ferrules, and that will be the 90 coming off.
That'd be pretty cool.
We got some things to do. I was talking about earlier in the video stuff. So these fittings too, they're all quick disconnect. Well, they have this little pin. We're gonna pull this off the firewall, and Assam from Iabit Industries is gonna make us some billet fittings. So what I'm gonna do is all AN fittings going off the firewall, going off the engine. We're gonna try to do this build as legit as possible. We're gonna have any issues on the dyno in terms of like what we had. Remember on the silver car, we sprung a coolant leak because we were using, you know, Home Depot hose clamps. We're gonna try to do this build as legit as possible and as clean as possible. So, yeah, we're gonna make everything here in-house.
Constantly learning, you know.
Yeah, so that should wrap up everything in the video, guys. I'm sorry that we were not able to do the actual piping. I didn't know their alignment tool existed for these HD vibrant clamps. So, again, we ordered these HD clamps. They're a little pricey, they're a little expensive, and again, a lot of people say they're not worth the price, but I'll tell you this, with as many silicone couplers as people are blowing, making 30, 40, 50, 55 PSI.
Pipes off my car.
Yeah, a ton. So converting to these, it's a little bit expensive. It's like 139 bucks for a kit like this, right? For each clamp kit that will come with 2 ferrules in the band and this clamp. But I'll tell you this, you'll save yourself the headache of pipes blowing off. But what we did learn, we got a lot of positive feedback from the forums, is that the success of these clamps depend on the install. So these, again, these ferrules pretty much are supposed to be installed with a pre-gap. They're not supposed to be butted up. So a lot of people just mount these up together, tape them, weld piping, but there's no movement here. They're laying against each other, and all that abuse goes on that joint. So that little spacer kit for alignment gives that gap. So now in the clamp, this is allowed to shift. And here, let me show you guys what I'm talking about.
And allowed to move up to 12 degrees.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to put this on just so we're all on the same page so people can see it. These pipes with a gap, they're able to move. So the engine's going to move no matter what you do. Ours is pretty solidly mounted with the 034 stuff, but there is always going to be movement. So if you install these and they're butted up against each other and there's no flex, it defeats the purpose of going with something like this. So
correct.
The gap is pre-built in, and then it's able to shift. So we're going to have some.
It has an O-ring on each side.
Correct.
Completely seals.
But we're going to have some experimenting to do. So we're going to have to do some science here and figure out where we're going to put the joints, where the movement's going to be the best. So we've never done any of this stuff before, but we'll be experimenting here on this channel. So, guys, I think we've covered Dynotech Performance. We ended up getting some really cool internals. All shiny silver best car. Stav ended up getting some head stubs, which was pretty cool. Pistons and rods I snagged. You guys saw me make the from an intercooler mount for the RS3. Now the intercooler is actually mounted. And on the next episode, we'll be working on Stav's car, getting his shitbox up and running. I mean, I'm sorry, 12 valve B5, and then then we'll get that we'll get that thing going in here in this garage. And we're gonna be doing some upgrades too. I actually teased this on Instagram. I'm gonna be making a 4-inch downpipe so Stav can utilize the 4-inch catback pretty much off my wide body. So we're converting his car on the back of his turbo from 3-inch all the way to 4-inch. So now we shouldn't have any exhaust restrictions.
Correct.
And now on top of that, we're going to be fixing the head. So we should be able to get back on the dyno and make some power and go fast with the car. So next episode, we're going to be doing that for Stav along with putting it back together and getting it running. So kind of excited of making the actual downpipe and exhaust system for his car.
So are you saying that I'm going to have the first Malaka Motorsports downpipe fully fabricated on my car?
You probably have the first Malaka Motorsports downpipe to fly off the car too, but yeah, you pretty much you're gonna have the first downpipe fabricated here. No, actually, technically, the first one is on the RS3.
I said fully fabricated. See the technicalities.
It's not fully fabricated. No, very good point. No, this will be fully welded once we get it all lined up. Once we get the head on the car, and then I got to weld on.
How honored do you feel to be able to work on a 12 valve? Honestly, like not a lot of people get this opportunity.
Yes, Stav. I'm beyond honored that. You need me to make you some stuff, yes.
I don't need you to make, I'm allowing you to make me some stuff.
Guys, without further ado, I'm George.
I'm Stav.
This is Malaka Motorsports. Thank you guys for watching. For those of you guys with input, let us know what you thought about the install, about the mounting situation. We try to make it as OEM plus stage 1 as possible.
Negative comments only.
But we'll do more on the following episodes. So next one again is about Stav's car, and then we'll be doing another update, full intercooler piping routing, and then we'll work on some other oil lines, coolant lines, and other goodies for the RS3. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one.